Greetings, all praise the King. Welcome to Eyewitness, an eye with an eye, an unscripted source where we reason to discover the truth, supporting the struggle for international justice. Today we're talking about style adaptation. This is in the line with the previous discussion on fashion. As we know, style and fashion would be the same. Another synonymous word would be trend. In other terms, it could be considered a pattern, which is also considered a design. Design is something we see. So we are obviously dealing with appearance. Design is something also that can be altered or fit to suit the designer. So it is tailored, custom. Now this falls in line with, the second piece, artificial intelligence, we've been speaking about, because this is tracking and monitoring most everybody's behaviors and communications. So therefore, it's tailoring what people see. As an end result, people will act or behave differently based on what they have been shown, other than what they would do naturally. Now this is artificial, as we just spoke about with the design. Something led on. And as we have called it, adaptive. The idea is to move people in a certain direction. So we're dealing with the populations. We've sketched out the structure of the monkey rule, driving the economy, human activities on the earth, most everyone on the bottom, few on the top. The few on the top are interested in staying there, so they're doing what they can to keep most people down here. An easy example is that people down here have the same power the people up here have. The equilibriums will shift, and the people up top will lose power, because there has to be a balance. If you have the millions and billions of dollars it takes to buy out the elections, then you could put your own people in a position where they could actually have a system of government. I'm not sure how that worked, because the basis of this government is corrupt, but you'd have to start anew. But either way, you could get people in there that would get some notice, some notoriety, and they would be able to speak about these real issues, the actual issues, not the artificial or the ones that have been led on. Essentially what we're dealing with is information. And this is just something that's being received by somebody. It has a particular impact on the way that person thinks. This is something that can be manipulated, based on the information that people are receiving. This information, in this particular case, is dealing with symbols, symbolatry. How are these symbols shown? Usually through ads. Again, something that was brought on for people to see. Today's world, these ads are being more tailored, specifically for individuals. These symbols don't always come in ads. They also come by way of the population. This is a symbol of a star. When people see other people looking, acting, dressing, being a certain way, it's symbolic. Depending on what I'm wearing today, is symbolic. If you put a suit and tie on, it's different than if you have a wife beater. So, appearance itself is symbolic. The articles of apparel that we wear from head to toe is symbolic. This is a particular kind of information that people are receiving. If a Martian comes to the planet and obviously hasn't learned human languages and stuff, they would have a more difficult time picking up on some of these symbols. Yeah, because they're not really going to know what it means if somebody's wearing a trucker hat or if they're wearing a kango. What kind of a person this person is appearing to be. Now, this is the root word here. It's the appearance. This person's appearing to be happy. Are they really happy? Only they and Jah know. But when today's world is a spectacle, you can make people appear to be all kinds of different ways. It's artificial. It's adaptative. It will get other people to follow it. This is the idea. You're moving the population, so the idea is to have a following. The Christ is always the threat to man's way. And that is because the Christ has the biggest following of any man that ever walked the earth. And this is what Satan desires, because Satan seeks to be on the top. Now Satan's way of being on top is to present himself as omniscient, to see and know everything. But nevertheless, Satan does not have that natural way about him, something real. So you can usually sniff out Satan's disguise. if you think about an example of how this worked, you know, in what they call the USA in the 1960s, it was an anti-war movement. And people would become known as hippies. See? This would become the new thing, you know, cool, fashionable, and it required, you know, you to address a certain way. But we're going to call this certain look. Sometimes speak a certain way too, right? Some little language you use. So it's not only appearance based on, you know, what people see, but also based on what people hear. It could be any sense, like smell, taste. Tastes good, must be good for you, right? That's the prevailing notion that's been led on. So these hippies, you know, they were a threat, because what were we really dealing with? We were dealing with anti-war activists. We were dealing with people who got it figured out. They were also naturalists. They were also naturalists. And so therefore, they were a threat. Threat to man. Because man is not natural. Man was not moving or planning on moving in a natural direction. At this time, the pollution, you know, the carbon that was emitted into the air was at higher levels. And so the man had no intention of stopping this. For the man, it was all about industrialization, and he was going to sell his way based on the products that he produced. So instead of it being an authentic movement, even though it was presented as something of artificial, something trendy, and something that will come and go. And that's what it did, because when you think about the word hippie, you only think about people during that time era. You know, even though people today might call themselves hippies, right, and they may have lived in that time, you rarely will see somebody of a next generation that will call himself a hippie. So what do they do now? They call themselves hipsters. So you see, the root word is the same, hip, which is obviously cool, is in. And these people actually think like this. Like, if you're not dressing the way that others are dressing today, then you must not be cool. Again, this is the difference between something that's real and something that's fake, something that's artificial, or versus something that's authentic. You know, a person that, well, how do you define cool, right? Would you really define cool based on what somebody wears? No, that's anti-cool. But they haven't figured it out yet because they're being controlled. And their mind is telling them, just like as the devil will tell you to do something, that this is the way to go, the way to go. And then what's going to happen is, a few decades, they're going to look at their pictures from today and laugh at themselves for looking or doing some of the things they did. You know what I'm saying? They're going to play it off. But these people are followers. They're looking at the device, and it's showing them somebody, and he got a pose, or she got a pose, and they're saying, yeah, you know, I want to be just like that person. Whatever. It's like the oldest form of advertisement. It seems kind of ridiculous, people buy into it. They do. All over. It has to start somewhere. You know, you see the women, they cut their shorts and they wear them up to here. There's some kind of new style. Then you got people who's just changing their hair color. You know, and whatnot. You know, and they think that they're being individuals. They think that this is something that you know, they're really being real, being true to themselves. And yet they're making these decisions because they see other people around them doing it. Yeah. So somehow they think this is going to benefit them. Basically, this is going to make them more attractive. People realize if they appear more attractive, they get more. So it's a form of serving self. And these are what you could consider today to be New Agers. Now what they've done, I'm talking about the big world-class players that have control over these devices and mechanisms, have moved the spectacle of the anti-war activists to something that appears to be a techno, a futurist. So they've transferred the perception that these people that were known as hippies are now the new age futurists. That's what's happening. The man's using all his devices to gain, retain, and maintain power. And activists, anti-war activists, don't help the man's cause. So the man has to make more people in favor of the man's device, which is these technological advancements. So, in other words, where the old crowd that used to protest against war and used to smoke marijuana, and now the new crowd that is opposed to marijuana and in favor of war. And it's all done through perception. I mean, this is not reality, but if you show someone on the screen, or if you present ideas like such, or for example, if you build institutions in proximity of people who are involved in certain activities, then you can turn that population, the perception of that population, change the perception of that population. So, University of California, Berkeley, major futurist institution, but it was branded as the hippie place. That's how they did it. So, this is all component of the institutional model. Again, the idea is to gain, maintain, and contain power. And to do that, you have to control the populations. And one way to do that is through style. All praise the King.